In today's lesson 8.1 on equivalent fractions, you will be using the multiplication and division rules. To find an equivalent fraction using the multiplication rule, simply multiply the numerator and the denominator of the original fraction by the same non-zero number. So in my example of 2/3, I can find an equivalent fraction by simply multiplying both the numerator and the denominator by the same number, such as 2. This will then give me the equivalent fraction of 4/6. To find an equivalent fraction using the division rule, we'll simply divide the numerator and the denominator of the original fraction by the same non-zero number. So if I have the fraction of 20/12, I can divide the numerator and the denominator both by a common factor of the two numbers. I know that 2 and 4 are common factors for both 20 and 12, so I will choose one of them to divide by. So 20/12 divided by 4 would give me an equivalent fraction of 5/3. 5/3 is equivalent to 20/12. I can also find equivalent fractions for any whole number. For example, if I have a whole number of 2, I can create a fraction by simply placing this whole number over the number 1. Then, to find an equivalent fraction, I simply use the multiplication rule to multiply the numerator and the denominator by the same number. So 2 over 1 times 2 would give me an equivalent fraction of 4/2, which is also equal to 2 whole. Now, when reporting fractions in simplest form, to report a fraction in its simplest form, we need to make sure that the numerator and the denominator do not have any factors in common greater than 1. So if I were to use the example of 2/3, I know that 2/3 is in its simplest form because the only common factor of 2 and 3 is 1. When I look at the fraction of 4/8, I know it is not in its simplest form because 2 and 4 are common factors of both 4 and 8. So to rewrite 4/8 in its simplest form, I would want to divide the numerator and the denominator by the greatest common factor that the two numbers share. So in this case, their greatest common factor is 4. So the 4/8 written in simplest form would be 1/2. When you are presented with problems such as this, where you are asked to identify what the variable of x would be, you will need to either use the multiplication rule or the division rule. When I look at the fraction of 3/4, I know that the denominator of 4 was multiplied by 2 to get my new denominator of 8. And the multiplication rule states that whatever I do to the denominator, I must do to the numerator as well. So since I multiplied the denominator by 2, I need to multiply the numerator by 2. This would give me the value of x. X then equals 6.